You could dress like an NFL coach if you wanted to. That's athleisure. And one coach who is coaching for their job, I think, this weekend, or more specifically Monday night, I think is Mike McCarthy. Perloff, you and I just do not agree on this. We do not see eye to eye. And that is Mike McCarthy. If this game goes poorly against the Bucs, his seat is warm. And I know Jerry Jones came out and said he's not going to be evaluated on this game. Well, let's see how it feels after. If they go and beat a Bucs team that, quite frankly, beyond Tom Brady, who's the greatest of all time, this Bucs team is not scaring anyone.
Well, yeah, not yet. But they're getting healthier, and they're going to be up for this game. It's in Tampa. It's not the easiest opponent. You have to admit, if you look at all the matchups this weekend, I'd much rather have Miami like your Bills do, or be the Bengals that face the Ravens. Tampa Bay does not have a great record, and they've not played well. But we all know that's a potentially dangerous team. It's Tom Brady in the playoffs.
It's potentially dangerous if the game is close in the last 2 minutes. That's your biggest fear if you're the Cowboys, that you don't show up and that this game gets late or you get behind like you did against the San Francisco 49ers last year when you were at home, and then all of a sudden Tom Brady starts to work the 2-minute magic and then you're done.
Why does this Cowboys team have a deep playoff run expectation? What about the Cowboys offseason, or what about the Cowboys roster says this is a deep playoff team? Remember what happened?
What about it doesn't say that? Like,
they got rid of Amari Cooper. They got rid of La'el Collins. They got rid of Randy Gregory in the offseason. Who did they bring in?
Okay, they
Nobody.
Drafted a first-rounder offensive lineman who ended up acquitting himself very well, Tyler Smith.
You look at a playoff team and say, oh, my gosh, they have a rookie left tackle. That is not a formula for winning a Super Bowl. That's the exact opposite. That is our formula for rebuilding.
No, but he was good this year.
He was good, but we didn't know that coming in. We said this is
you thought Tyron Smith was still going to be there. He goes down with an injury, and then you had Tyler Smith who stepped in.
Right, but they're the opposite of last year's Rams. The Rams went all in for the Super Bowl. The Cowboys actually went all in for the future. They didn't do anything this year that was setting up to win a Super Bowl. What did they do?
You don't think that the draft pick of Micah Parsons after the rookie year that he had set up expectations? They did pay DeMarcus Lawrence. They do have a great defense. And
no. We didn't know they had a great defense.
Well, we knew it was going to be better because Dan Quinn got so much love last year. And then they were better this year, too. And it was like, and then maybe, you're getting to the end of Ezekiel Elliott contract. Do you want to win with him? And then just the building pressure of this team continuing to fail to get back to at least the NFC Championship game since the 90s.
Wait, also, we forgot their number 2 receiver, arguably maybe even their best receiver, was coming off an ACL and was not ready for the beginning of the year. Their Hall of Fame left tackle you just mentioned was hurt in training camp.
Yeah.
This should have lowered expectations. The fact that they got 12 wins this season, to me, is a big accomplishment. In fact, if Mike McCarthy got 12 wins in about 2/3 of the league, it'd be considered a huge success. Can you imagine if he got 12 wins in Houston, or if he got 12 wins in Detroit? He'd be coach of the year.
Well, let's not talk crazy.
So 12 wins for Dallas 2 years in a row. You just don't get coaches who win 12, go 12-5 every year. This is not easy. The Cowboys have not done that for a long time. I think they have a good coaching staff.
So this was a quote, and I went back and looked at some articles when Mike McCarthy got let go from the Green Bay Packers. And I found a funny one, I thought was funny, from Mike Silver, who was writing for NFL.com at the time. And he does a one-on-one interview with Mike McCarthy in McCarthy's office at the time, right? This is just the two of them talking. And he looks at Mike Silver and says, "Why is America so tough on me?" This is Mike McCarthy going back to the Packer days. Why is America so tough on me? Because remember, at the end with Green Bay, people couldn't wait to get him out of there, right?
People didn't like him.
Didn't like him. And I started to think about that. Why do people not like Mike McCarthy? First of all, I'm not even sure if that's actually true. But the only thing I can come up with is I think people blame him because Aaron Rodgers only won one Super Bowl. And the idea that Rodgers, who's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, in terms of skill and ability, Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest ever. And the fact that he only has one Super Bowl feels like it lands on McCarthy. Now, that might not be fair. It should land on the front office, who wouldn't go out and get free agents and how conservative they were and drafting and all that. But McCarthy, I think, gets the ire because it feels like you had this gem. You had two. You had Favre at the end, and then you had Rodgers. How did you only get one?
Well, I mean, he took over a struggling Favre and saved the end of his career. So that's not relevant. The other thing is, I think what's happened since McCarthy left Green Bay has vindicated McCarthy. They haven't won anything. I mean, they've been a bigger disappointment in the playoffs with Matt LaFleur than they were with McCarthy.
Matt LaFleur has not won a big game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think the front office has more to blame. They basically just could not get a defense together to hold off the run-oriented San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
They couldn't get their special teams together. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that McCarthy has looked bad. I think he looks better now than when he left Green Bay. I just think.
But do you think public perception of him is better now?
Well, no, I don't think so. But I think this is all because he's the Cowboys coach. I think this
is the Cowboys coach inherently unlikable. Like Jason Garrett was people, 8-8, Mr. 8-8.
People hate him. I know. I think the reason that everybody wants his job now is because he's a Cowboys coach, and I think it's just. I know you and I kind of disagree with this. I think there's just level of hype, and there's all these eyeballs, and there's all this demand. Basically, people are inventing this idea that the Dallas Cowboys have a Super Bowl roster because they're the Dallas Cowboys, much like we do with the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Yankees. That's what we do with super teams. It's wishful rooting. We think that even if you don't like them, you kind of overrate them because they're the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. I think it's a great accomplishment.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You can't say that we're overinflating their expectations, but then also praise them for having 12 wins. They're a 12-win team. That means they're good.
Right, exactly.
The 12-win teams should have Super Bowl expectations, except for the Minnesota Vikings, ironically.
Well, you never would fire a 12-win coach normally. I mean, there's a couple exceptions, but 12-5, 2-12. These guys been there 2 years. He took over a 6-10 team.
3 years.
12.
The first year Dak Prescott got hurt. Your boy Andy was the stepped in.
So basically, he's been 12-5. Normal situations. Any other team, you take the star off that helmet. He's considered a really, really good coach. I mean, come on. We love Dan Campbell. He didn't even make the playoffs.
Well, Dan Campbell with the Falcons made the Super Bowl is just one of the all-time bad losses.
Wait, what?
Dan Quinn, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. No, Dan Campbell. I was thinking about Dan Quinn. Dan Campbell, yes, we do love Dan Campbell, but there's nothing about the Cowboys that are lovable losers. Like, that's the Lions. You know, they're lovable now because they've been terrible for so long.
No, I mean, my point is that
I don't think Dan Campbell, by the way, Dan Campbell in game is not a great coach.
Yeah, but everybody loves him, though.
Everybody loves him because they think they overachieve. When you start 1-6 and then you end the season and you're basically almost making the playoffs, that's a great accomplishment. But I don't think that Dan Campbell in game, I mean, he's cost the team at times. As much as I like the Lions, Campbell's not exactly putting on a clinic every week.
Yeah, I mean, well, at least the Lions didn't lose their all-star left tackle and their quarterback for half the season. That's the other thing, too. Dak went away, and they still won. I just can't believe that he's coaching for his job in this situation. To me, it's amazing. It's guys like Stephen A. Smith are driving this train, yelling at the screen, "These got to be fired here." I just think that's a product of Dallas Cowboys mania. It's a mania. You see those ratings, Maggie, on these average Cowboys games, 45 million. Why are they blowing away in viewership every other team?
Because they have a fan base that's outside of Dallas. Because there's people who are listening to us in Alabama. It doesn't matter where you are. We're going to have Cowboys fans everywhere. And they're always of interest. And their owner is front and center. They're always in the news because they want to be. And now we're paying attention. You have our attention. You asked for it. And now it's like you can't, if you're the Cowboys, you can't be concerned when you get criticized if you're not going to live up to expectations.
So say Sean Payton gets a job next year.
Yeah.
There is a very good chance that they go out in the first round of the playoffs. Very possible.
Well, it depends on how it falls.
Yes, but I mean, odds say if you're looking overall globally at odds, it's much more likely they go out in their first playoff game than they win the Super Bowl.
Of course.
So are we going to call for Sean Payton's job? No, of course not. Nobody's going to call for Sean. Sean Payton has a 4-year runway.
And I don't think people called for Mike McCarthy's job in year one when the team fell off the rails after Dak Prescott got hurt. And I don't think, listen, there were some rumblings last year, but that's the way that game ended, which I'm telling you, if the game ends again like it did against the 49ers last year, you're going to have a lot of people who are wondering if Jerry's going to make a move, especially with Sean Payton.
Well, my point was Sean Payton would get a 5-year runway where Mike McCarthy's gotten much less.
Again, it goes to Mike McCarthy. Why is America so tough on me? Can anyone figure that out?
Yeah, right now it's this Cowboy thing. If Mike McCarthy was 12-5 on 28 different
And he was
teams.
coaching the Tennessee Titans.
And oh my gosh, he'd be.
You think he'd be beloved?
I mean, 12-5 with the Titans, he'd be coach of the year. If you lost your starting quarterback to a broken thumb, which people conveniently forget. I mean, I'm going to give you all the credit in the world. You actually bet on the Cowboys to make the playoffs, and you lost your Hall of Fame left tackle and your quarterback broke his thumb, and you gave away all these good players in the offseason. I think people should be thrilled they're 12-5. And honestly, you know what's the dumbest thing about this whole thing?
What's up?
If they went 13-4 because they beat the Commanders in a meaningless game, the narrative would be totally different. That game meant nothing. I just don't get it. I think it's way overboard. I think if they lose, you're right. I think Jerry might pull the trigger, and I think that's a mistake. I think, first of all,
he wouldn't do it for an unknown. I don't think he'd do it because, like, oh, man, I really love the Lions offensive coordinator. Let's promote that guy. I think it'd be for Sean Payton.
We'll see. I mean, is there?
I know they love Kellen Moore. That doesn't make me feel great either.
Strong indication that Sean Payton is going to go there? It seems like Sean Payton is starting to flirt with a lot of different teams.
Sean Payton, it's like between him and Jim Harbaugh, a little thirsty, you know? Call me. Like, it's a little too out there, right? That's maybe a conversation for later.
No, I do think it's interesting. You're right. Sean Payton has not been shy about getting involved in this.
He's on Fox doing a segment while he's getting a paycheck from Fox, breaking down the particulars of his contract with the Saints with Peter Schrager.
And he did it in the Big Show, too, at 12:30.
Yeah.
Talked extensively about what he might do. He said, I'm a 7 of a 10 to returning. I also think, by the way.
I'd say that if my boss was in the other room, too. I'd be like, no, guys, it's cool. I'm returning.
I think Sean Payton.
Sorry, this is the Broncos on line one. I got to take this on my other phone. Got a burner over here I got to pick up.